Good morning, everyone. This is Julie from the Local Search Association, and I would like to welcome you to the LSA webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Mobile, How to Generate Calls, and will be brought to you by our guest presenters Shannon McBride and Tony Phillip from VoodooVox. During the webinar, feel free to type any questions you may have in the question box on the screen. At the conclusion of the presentation, I'm happy to answer your questions. And with that, we're ready to begin. It's over to you, Shannon.
Thanks so much, Julie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for making time for the webinar today. I wanted to quickly introduce myself and say that I've been in the Yellow Pages industry for over 15 years and recently moved into mobile. After having great success selling digital and Yellow Pages but not being able to cover the loss on print, I thought moving into mobile made a ton of sense. And the similarities in the value that we drive for customers in mobile is exciting, and the growth is unbelievable. So I'm very excited to get this opportunity to talk with you about how we can leverage mobile to drive calls for your customers. Tony, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, this is Tony Phillip, and we're very excited about being able to talk about the opportunities that specifically exist in 2013 of driving performance advertising to advertisers from the mobile phone, in particularly leveraging the pay-per-call channel. It's something that we've been doing for over 8 years, and we've seen an incredible amount of growth in it just in the last couple of quarters. And we think there's some real good opportunities, as Shannon had said, to drive calls to advertisers from the mobile phone. So, Shannon, back at you.
Thank you. So a little bit about VoodooVox. We are the premier and longest-running pay-per-call mobile network in North America. We've been doing this for over 9 years. The biggest brands in the country have used VoodooVox analytics and ad-serving platform to engage mobile consumers. We've worked with folks like 1-800-Flowers, McDonald's, Avis, DirecTV, Home Depot, just to name a few. And when we talk about mobile, I wanted to clarify that mobile means a lot of different things to different people. And so mobile could be tablets, it could be text, it could be video, it could be CPM campaigns. For the purposes of this call, we're going to focus specifically on the mobile phone and how to generate calls from the phone. So I just wanted to clarify that. Some of the campaigns that we've done for companies like McDonald's have to do with texting campaigns and coupon campaigns. But since we only have an hour, we really wanted to focus on what ties best with the Yellow Page industry and specifically driving those phone calls. So, you know, we've been hearing about mobile for several years. In fact, I'm sure many of you have seen the slide that talks about how mobile search is expected to exceed desktop search within the next 12 to 18 months. What I wanted to share with you is some stats that are even more compelling than that. So why mobile, why now? When you look at the purchase funnel, mobile has really taken the time and collapsed that. I sold many lead packages working in digital, and it was fascinating for me to see that 94% of the leads generated via the internet are not ready to buy right away, where 90% of mobile leads take action immediately. In fact, 73% of mobile searches result in a phone call immediately, which is really not that surprising when you think about having a phone in your hand, doing a search on mobile. It's the most natural thing that can occur. So when we talk about mobile and why now, they're the most active consumers out there, and it's got a great conversion rate. Okay, so why now? In the last year, in 2012, we saw a 55% increase in smartphone subscriptions, taking smartphone ownership in the U.S. to 48 million consumers. 91% of smartphone users have their phones within arm's reach 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No other media has that kind of access to consumers. You're going to see a 72% higher click-through on mobile than on PC ads. And this stat just blows me away that pay per call is expected to be 10 times bigger than pay per click for Google in terms of revenue.
You know, Shannon, it's an interesting, you know, time to be in the pay per call business, especially as it applies to mobile. Because when we first got started, 8, 9 years ago in pay-per-call advertising, we were the first company to actually offer pay-per-call advertising on mobile phones. And so we had to go, present this to the press. And when, we talked about the advantages of people being actually able to be connected from the mobile phones via phone call to a call center, one of the reporters sat there and go, well, what does paper have to do with making phone calls? So the idea of where pay-per-call sits, 8 years, 9 years ago, and where it is now has really made a huge change. And I think people have really come to realize that the best, venue for mobile is at the end of the day making phone calls.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've got a little stat that would be more fun if we could have true audience engagement, but just to kind of plant a seed. Google estimates that you're going to do it 40 times a day, and according to Nokia, it's more like 150 times a day. What is it? It's looking at your phone. I actually think those numbers might be understated, especially for those of us in the industry. I wish I only looked at my phone 40 times a day. So a little bit about consumer shopping patterns. So when you think about mobile in the context in which people are doing search, what actually happens after they do a search, I think this slide is very, very compelling. I actually got this from Google, our Mobile Planet. They've got a great set of slides out there for people looking to build a mobile deck, and we are always willing to help people build a mobile case as well. So local mobile information seekers take action, as we discussed. 70% of them are going to connect with a business. 66% of them are going to visit a business. 23% are going to take the time to write a review or tell others about it. And from a social media perspective, this can be considered one of the most valuable things that can happen with a business, sharing and ratings and reviews. And finally, 36% of people are going to make a purchase. So very, very compelling stats when you look at what happens when a consumer is engaged in mobile with an ad. So my most exciting part is not just to tell you how great mobile is, but to share with you what we have seen in specific customers that we've moved from traditional Yellow Page advertising into mobile programs. So we're going to talk about a couple case studies. Several top brands have used us to drive calls to both local stores and local sales centers. The first one I want to talk to you about is a home improvement case study. This customer is looking at getting calls from HVAC, fencing, and windows. And as a traditional Yellow Pages gal, I'm thinking, that's such an on-demand service, how would that work on mobile? But my team at VoodooVox, with 9 years of experience, convinced me this was something we could execute on. So we embraced the campaign. So the goals going into the campaign were to drive a high volume of calls for HVAC, windows, and fencing. They had tried 2 other very well-known networks and had not had success. But because everything we do is pay for performance, there was really no risk on their side to let us give it a shot. We initially targeted mobile users broadly, and then we applied our caller analytics tool to help profile those callers that were calling in. We knew from this case study and who made sense that we wanted to find homeowners. We wanted to find folks with a decent income level, and from a male-female split didn't really matter. So we targeted high-income homeowners, and at the end of the campaign, we were driving over 120 calls per day. The client previously was seeing less than 10 calls a day on other networks. The client was so pleased, they've now placed with us for the 5th time, and we've got spend through the end of 2013. 97% of the callers that we were able to reach when we drilled down on our caller analytics and profiled the callers were homeowners. 84% were over 35 years in age, and 71% of the callers had an income of over $99K. This client had never felt that they'd gotten more targeted media with a more effective response rate until now. So what also helped, and what's kind of unique about VoodooVox, is that in addition to the volume of calls that we were able to generate, having the caller analytics on the backside, being able to tell the agency and the client who was actually calling, became a major factor in renewal because they knew they weren't getting a great number of calls, but they were also getting a great quality of calls. And this is something that we do standard on every single one of our campaigns. The next case study I want to talk to you about is tires. And this one was actually quite fascinating. So we worked with a national brand to build their first mobile click-to-call campaign. They did not have a mobile website, and they also did not have a call center. And most folks, when they think about mobile, think, well, you got to have a mobile. We don't really know how to approach that. And then additionally, well, we want all the calls are going to have to go to a call center, and we've got about a bunch of franchisees and dealers. How's that going to work? So what we did is we leveraged the national brand and built banners with a click-to-call landing page that we hosted to drive the calls for the local dealers. We built an IVR that was used to route the customer to their nearest dealer based on customer-provided zip code. So we ran a national banner that when the consumer clicked on it, they were sent to a landing page. The consumer, if they generally were engaging with this ad, clicked again on the landing page, were routed into an IVR. They then had to type in their zip code so we could route them to their local dealer. By the time they reach their local dealer, they have now opted in 3 times to connect with this customer and have a very high probability of conversion. We used our caller analytics tool to also profile the callers, similar to what we did in the home improvement case study, and we're able to generate a very high conversion rate. For this particular campaign, we were driving over 50 calls a day. They were so pleased with the results, they placed with us through the end of Q3 2013. To date, we've generated over 2,500 qualified calls in Q4, and again, the agency stated that in addition to having the volume, having that IVR technology support and being able to route to the local dealer was key in them renewing, as well as knowing that the quality of calls they were getting was important. Tony, is there anything you want to say here?
No, I think that was great. I mean, the key thing here is, and we hear a lot about this in the media, is national versus local. And here we're literally showing how we bridge it, how we're able to do national campaign and drive it to a local basis, leveraging a multimodal approach really, because that's what mobile is. Mobile is not just one channel; it's actually multiple channels. So we're able to take banners from the mobile web and drive calls into these call centers. And that's really the challenge and the opportunity when it comes to mobile is the breadth of reach that you have, but being able to drive it down to that call, because at the end of the day, that's what the advertiser wants.
And Tony, that's a great point. Coming into this industry with 15 years experience in Yellow Pages, it's all about being able to leverage that national brand, but ultimately to drive calls to the local dealer to get folks in the local stores. And that's what mobile is able to do. So, I just want to assure all of you as you're thinking about mobile and how does that work, when we're talking about the phone and campaigns on the phone, we can really leverage the brick and mortar stores, the dealerships at the local level to drive those calls and still take advantage of that national brand. So I really like this case study because it demonstrates how we were able to do that. And the customer didn't have to have a mobile website. We were able to build a mobile landing page. And in fact, one thing I do want to say here is not one single campaign that I have personally done have we actually sent the consumer to the mobile website. We've sent them to the landing page because we don't want them to get lost in the website. We want to promote our offer and get them into a live person as quickly as possible. And by routing them to a mobile website, they can sometimes get lost or distracted. So wanted to get rid of that myth. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have seen work on mobile and give you some examples of some campaigns that work really well. So the number one thing on mobile is that you don't have a lot of space. So simple text is mission critical in building a compelling ad. And we've pulled some campaigns that we see run regularly on mobile that have a very high click-through rate. Terminex, the first one at the top, it's a great ad because you see the bug. It's encouraging to get a quote from wherever you're at, and it ties back to all of the branding that they do in print and in other media. In addition, you see down below we've got the Geico Pig. This ties back to everything that they're doing on TV. You could also swap that out with the Geico. And as you see, too, we've got a lot of click to save money now. So any kind of messaging on saving it tends to resonate well, and simple text. We believe 100% in click to call. And I've seen stats from Google that say mobile has a conversion rate that's 11.5% higher than what you'll see on PC, specifically from the click-to-call function. No different than Yellow Pages. You want a strong call to action. A way to leverage the fact that you don't have individual books in the market, but you've got phones all over the place, is IVR routing, like we just talked about in the tires case study. And we have found that what works best is a combination of both display and search. The #1 goal with any mobile campaign, though, is to qualify the customer and then get them to a live person quickly. Okay? So I wanted to show you even in more detail kind of the components of a pay-per-call campaign, and I pulled one off Google to give you an example. So verticals and keywords, you know, when we do a campaign for tires, do they want auto repair? Do they want auto parts? Do they just want to focus on tires? So we really look at what makes the most sense and what is the messaging focusing on. And then, of course, the targeting. So although we had a national campaign, this particular brand had 455 stores nationwide. So we did target locally as far as where we ran that ad. And then day parts are also very important. If the customer's location is not open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we only want the campaign live when they're able to take those calls. So we work with you on what the best store hours of operation are, and then we'll also look at that by time zone. Call threshold is a common term that you will hear in mobile, and we'll hear anything from 20 seconds, 30 seconds to 60 seconds. For some of the more complex and detailed sales calls or verticals like, say, attorneys, they may want a 90-second or 120-second call threshold. What's most common, what we frequently see from traditional yellow page advertisers, is a 60-second threshold, and that's no problem in achieving that. Call routing, so is this going to a call center, or are we going to be routing it to the local dealers? Cost per call is also a key term that you'll hear. And then campaign tracking, what level of tracking do you have? So in the example on the right, this shows very easily something that we did with the tires campaign, where we had the banner ad that appeared out on the internet. Then it went into a landing page, tap here to call. When they called, they were routed to an IVR and asked to provide their zip code. When they provided their zip code, they were routed to a local dealer.
Yeah, and again, this is a great example of a multimodal approach to mobile. And if you know, because we're going from banner to call and then into an IVR. And if you look at this flow, basically what we're doing is we're doing a triple opt-in before a caller gets into the call center. That's a lot of qualifications. I mean, most campaigns only have a single opt-in. We do a triple opt-in. Again, that adds value to the caller that gets placed into the call center or the store.
Thank you, Tony. So one of the questions I get, having relationships in this industry and having relationships with the various agencies, is, you know, how do I get my customer on mobile? They're hesitant. They don't have a mobile website. You know, what are some of the sound bites that I need to help move them into a mobile campaign? Well, the first thing, and I think, you know, the #1 thing, is that it's a pay-per-performance model. You can do a campaign that's 30 days or 45 days in length, and there's no risk because you're not paying until you're actually generating calls that are performing. So in the tires ad, you're looking at a 60-second call. You're only paying for those calls that are 60 seconds. It's not a subscription model where you're on the hook for 12 months and kind of cross your fingers and make it work. It's all pay per performance, and there's really no risk unless we perform. And even then, there's no risk. What I have found when I pulled together proposals is that most of the big verticals have their competitors on mobile now. And in fact, Google has stated that they have over 500,000 advertisers in the U.S. running click-to-call campaigns. I found that statistic mind-blowing. I didn't think that that many customers would have already embraced pay-per-call on Google, but in fact, over 500,000 have. Another myth buster, you do not need to have a website, a mobile website, to be on mobile. And again, you don't have to have a call center. If they do have a call center, it makes the setup very, very simple. But we have the ability to again, route these calls to the local dealer and franchisees. And, you know, these are two compelling stats that I think really get folks to think twice about what they're doing. if you've got clients that are running a campaign on desktop search, 70% of mobile users are going to take action within 1 hour. When you compare that to 70% of desktop users taking action within 1 month. So we can redirect a little bit of that digital spend or pull some of that print spend that they haven't necessarily committed and put it on mobile and drive conversions immediately for them. I think of mobile being very similar to the Yellow Pages because if you're on your mobile phone and you're searching for something, you have an immediate need. Just like with Yellow Pages, you're not going into Yellow Pages unless you have immediate need. Mobile is the most natural evolution in how to move those callers and those dollars for your agency. So wanted to talk a little bit about what to look for when you're looking for somebody to support a mobile campaign. The most important thing is reach. Are you getting a national coverage? Can you get into Canada and Puerto Rico? What kind of targeting capabilities are available? Are you looking at state level, DMA level, zip code level, lat long level? Those are all important criteria. What kind of analytics are available? When we looked at analytics from other providers, it's pretty much what you would see with the traditional inbound call log. When did the call come in? How long did the call last? And what's the caller's phone number? We believe in taking that to the next level and better understanding who is the actual caller from a consumer perspective, homeowner, income level, male, female, age. And what we're able to do is once we understand who's responding to that ad is target more specifically on those callers so you get a better return on your investment. Obviously, real-time reporting is very important. With the transparency and reporting right now, it's important to know how the campaign is performing. Creative support. Many of the brands and agencies that I've worked with haven't built a lot of mobile ads. This is something that we can absolutely support. Most mobile ad networks should be able to support this. Flexibility. When Hurricane Sandy hit, a lot of call centers went down and we needed to pause some campaigns to make sure everybody could regroup. Being able to do that quickly is important. Cost per call, of course, is a #1 differentiator. IVR routing and design. Not everybody can support a local campaign. And then optimization capabilities. What are they going to do to make sure that your campaign is performing and how hard are they going to work to make that happen? So this is another case study that we did that's talked specifically about how we use analytics to optimize campaigns and drive better results. So I'm going to turn that over to Tony to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. This is something that we're really excited about, and it really ties it all together with what Shannon was just talking about all the different things that you need to look at when you run a mobile pay-per-call campaign, whether it's call tracking, caller analytics, time of day parting, dealing with banners and mobile creatives. When you tie it all together, and this is what we did with one of our clients, a national brand that was trying to drive calls down to a local level, is we ran the program initially, and we saw 32% ROI. Then we took the data that we collected during that initial run, and we ran it through caller analytics. And from that, we were able to do much more pinpoint targeting. Basically, we targeted only the demographics or the characteristics of the callers that generated good calls, good leads. And this touches upon 100 to 200 different characteristics that we look at. And what we saw after that is an ROI increase of 200%, just leveraging the information that we had from the initial campaign. And that is, again, that's one of the values that VoodooVox brings to the table, and it's definitely something you should be looking for when you're running a campaign, is these caller analytics. Being able, and because we have everything in-house, it makes it a lot easier for us to do and basically offer to the advertiser in a in a one-step or function. So the summary here is by taking caller analytics, we're able to significantly increase the ROI of campaigns, leveraging the characteristics of the user and the phones.
Thanks, Tony. And as you can see by looking at this, Just being able to help your brand understand the value of the calls that you're driving is so compelling. So you're showing the income level, the home ownership level, the home value level, the fact that you're hitting a demographic of 25 plus with great concentration in the 35 to 55 demographic. You know, pretty good split between male and female, and a high % of married folks. What I also find fascinating in all the mobile campaigns that we're running, there is some slice of the pie that shows that customers are also calling from their landline, which seems baffling to me, but some of them are writing the phone number down and calling back at a later time when they've got maybe a quieter place to make that phone call. So, you know, mobile does translate offline as well. So with that, that really summarizes our presentation. Mobile is going to continue to grow. We're expecting to see 31% making more purchases on mobile in the next 12 months, and we're very excited to be in this space. We've been in it for 9 years, and we're seeing, you know, exponential growth quarter after quarter. We'd love to help you get onto mobile. If you don't use us, I hope we've at least compelled you to investigate it and see what your options are, because it parallels so well with what your expertise is in the yellow page industry and digital, that this is the next natural step to transform the agency and bring those local calls in on another medium. So, Julie, with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. Okay. Okay, so the first question that we have here is, in the Geico ad that shows a pig, does VoodooVox have the technology to do A/B ads, for example, with the Geico Gecko? Tony, I'll let you talk about the A/B ads because you've actually managed some of those campaigns.
Yeah, we do. Although we don't do geckos versus pigs. We literally, in one particular campaign, had 10 different ads running, and we tracked how each one performed. We looked at different things like color, size of banner, and different messaging. But also, it gets more complicated than that. You know, different phone sizes. So you have different banner sizes for iPhones versus Android phones, or if you're dealing with old feature phones. And we have the tools to deal with that. But you know, your campaigns have to be customized based on the different phone sets, et cetera. And again, we handle all that, make that transparent to the advertiser. And again, we see different types of responses to different types of the advertising format, the content, et cetera. And when we see something working particularly well, then obviously we blow it up.
Thank you, Tony. One of the questions that we got too is, can I get a copy of this presentation? I just moved the slide to my contact information. You can email me and I will absolutely send you out a copy of the PowerPoint. Another question is how does it work if you want to get a proposal on a pay-per-call campaign? I would encourage you to call me, and what we're going to want to talk about is what's the vertical, what is the coverage, is it national, regional, local, and then we will show you what's going on competitively in the marketplace and give you a cost per call and talk about call thresholds. We'll put together a PowerPoint for you to meet with your client, to talk to them about why mobile, why now, give you some ideas of where the ad's going to appear, and then also give you the information on the cost per call and threshold, talk about the caller analytics reporting that we'll have available, and again, the competitive offer so they can benchmark the offer we're giving them with what their competitors are doing in the marketplace. Okay, another question we got is, how does commission work? So when we cost out a campaign, we're giving you our costs, and then you can rate that up to cover your commission. So what we'll do is we'll provide you a cost per call of, say, $12 a call. You'll probably present to the brand anywhere from $14 to $15 cost per call. The next question I'm getting is around the analytics. So how do you use analytics? Tony, I'm going to direct this one to you. How do you use the analytics to optimize the mobile campaigns?
Well, really, that's a great question. You know, the biggest challenge when you look at running a campaign on the internet, versus mobile is on the internet you're able to track the user based on a cookie. Well, there are no cookies in mobile. In mobile, what we got is the phone number, and based on the phone number, we have a lot of information about the caller. So we can and all the information that we have is publicly available information. There's no privacy concerns, and based on what we see a caller, what is a good call into a call center or to a merchant, we're able to take the caller analytics profile and then use that for retargeting. So we know, for example, after we run the campaign for the first time, that a high percentage of the good leads come from people with income over $90,000. They're in California. They are on Android phones, and they own a dog. So when we target afterwards, that's how we target, and we're able to generate much better qualified leads to the call centers, and at a lower cost.
Thank you, Tony. I think that's a great point. And I talked a little bit too about on the home improvement campaign that we cast a really wide net when we start to launch a campaign, and then we start to zero in on the sources that are going to generate the most calls. And one of the evaluation tools that we use is who's bringing us the demographic that makes the most sense, and those that are converting at the highest possible rate. So the caller analytics really gives us an additional level of analysis to optimize these campaigns. So Tony, this is a question that we got that I'd like to direct to you. This is for display ads. Can you please elaborate a bit on your in-call voice ads? As a VoIP soft switch operator, can a vested interested in voice advertising? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we're again, we've been doing voice advertising, pretty much for the last, decade, and again, that's a great channel for mobile phones, because at the end of the time, all calls are voice calls, and being able to integrate voice ads that is, if you've got voice inventory, which we do, to drive calls, into the call centers. And what's particularly interesting on voice ads is we know, from the very beginning of the call, a lot about the caller. The analytics, kick in on in a real-time basis, and we're able to take, and then we can channel the caller into the right call center, the right offering that they're interested in. So voice advertising, again, it's that multimodal approach. You've got 4 different modes on mobile phones. You got banners, you got text, you got the call, and video, and we address all of those in different ways.
Thanks, Tony. That's great. And then we got another question on what are the most popular verticals in mobile, and I just want to address up front. This is a slide that we toyed putting in the presentation. We kind of went back and forth on it because mobile is really working across the board, and we didn't want anyone to feel like if they had a brand or an advertiser that would work or that could work if they didn't see their vertical mentioned, that they would feel like this isn't going to work. But we can talk high level about some of the top 8-ish verticals that we see work. So Tony, I'll start the list and feel free to jump in. Home services is a great vertical, as we showed with the HVAC campaign. Anything automotive, tires, auto repair, auto parts, transmissions, those all perform very well. Anything in the travel industry has been huge, shockingly so. We have a rental car campaign that is generating over 1,000 calls a day. Hotels, also very, very popular. Anything in moving, we're also seeing great response on truck rental. Lots of volume there. Financial services, anything on mortgages, banking, new accounts, those all seem to perform very well.
Prepaid debit cards, credit cards, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Trying to think what else. Beauty, we've, massage, anything on massage, salon, especially if there's a national campaign or a national brand that we could leverage to drive calls to the local folks. Storage has been very popular.
Nutraceuticals work very well for us because, again, the demographic that we're able to go after, the 20 to 45 age. We actually just started a new campaign with Green Coffee Diet, which we expect to do very well. EDU, colleges does very well. And again, what's such a nice mix or match right now is because mobile is so broad, we can, as Shannon was saying, we can address a broad range of different type of offers. And if you look at the offers that do the best, the ones that are the broadest. So everybody's looking to get a better education. Everybody's looking for a way to save money. Those kind of things.
Oh, I almost forgot two of our top ones. Insurance, auto and home insurance are off the charts. They're also some of the most competitive verticals out there. And auto and home insurance, and then it just escaped me again. So auto and home insurance is huge. Okay. So again, if you all have questions, we can typically turn around a proposal within 24 hours. We're happy to help you support your agency and getting your account managers and colleagues feeling comfortable offering mobile and being up to speed. We've spent the bulk of the webinar talking specifically about phone mobile, but there are many, many other options, and we're happy to support you in any way possible. Hang on, looks like I got one more question. Any experience with healthcare? 80% of my base is in the hospital industry, and I haven't managed a really successful campaign on mobile yet. I've used competitors, and they're more or less saying that this is really only a branding opportunity. Any thoughts on moving this into pay-per-call?
Well, it depends. It really depends on the type of offer it is. So we actually do a fair amount for dentists and for contact lenses, et cetera. Again, it depends on the breadth of what you're going after. It's definitely not just a branding issue. Let me be very clear about that. We are all about performance. So if there's a demand for the product, then pay-per-call can definitely work for them, both on a national and a local level.
Yeah, and I will say something too here is that we've taken on some campaigns that we weren't, we didn't have a huge track record in, and we're 100% committed to trying to make it work from a pay-per-performance model, because at the end of the day, we know your customers want to pay for calls, and we'll spend, 10+ days figuring out what are the right sources, what's the right offer, what's the right creative, and we'll work with you in making that happen. The nice thing is we can absolutely, if you've done a campaign somewhere else, we could take a look at it, see what kind of tweaks we can do, and figure out how we could optimize it on our network. And since there is no risk until we perform, it's a great way for you to test it out. So I think medical has a huge opportunity within mobile, and we'd love to give it a shot. Okay, let me just make sure before we wrap up that I got all the questions. I think we did. Okay. So with that, again, I would encourage you all to reach out to me. Happy to send you a copy of the PowerPoint, and happy to set up some one-on-one time with your agencies if you want to go deeper in this. Because we only had an hour, there's a ton of data out there. We can specifically do a presentation about a specific vertical versus doing, kind of a broad sweep like we did here. So we're happy to support you and help you move those customers into mobile. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, everybody, and good luck, and keep those phones ringing.
Thank you, Shannon and Tony, for conducting the presentation today. There's a lot of great material. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. If you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us at LSA. We'll make sure to put you in touch with today's presenters. And also, please keep an eye out for future email blasts that promote next month's webinar as well. This year's annual conference is in Las Vegas, April 13th through the 16th at Planet Hollywood. We have a diverse agenda with dynamic speakers such as Dan Levy, Director of Small Business at Facebook. And we have great breakout sessions in the agenda for the local search space. So if you're interested in attending or want to learn more, just send us an email. And thanks, everyone, again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.